Hey YouTube, Brian here. Okay, so it's time for an update video. I'm actually now out in Bisbee, Arizona on my 13-acre property that I bought. So today's video is going to be sort of maybe a walking tour of the property itself, show you what's on it, what it looks like, show you the view, show you the house itself, which isn't a house yet. It's just the shell of a house, but it will be a house at some point. And just to kind of bring you a general update and show you some of the things that I'm working on. So let's dive into it. Okay, now I got on my hat and my sunglasses because it's really sunny out here. So I'm going to go to a point on the property where you can actually get a better vantage point. First things first, why did I buy a property in Bisbee, Arizona? Well, I didn't plan to. I was actually here visiting some friends for a few days on my way out to see my son in California. And I just hopped on Zillow kind of on a whim and saw a listing, and it intrigued me, and I came and looked at it and I was even more intrigued. And it offered seller financing, which was a big piece of it, and it had plenty of acreage, which is a big piece of it. And it's a building project, and this channel is all about building your lifestyle, and living out in Bisbee, Arizona in the desert is definitely a lifestyle choice. So I put in an offer, they accepted it, and now I'm the proud owner of 13 acres. Okay, let me see if I can give you a little bit of a tour. It might just look like a whole lot of scrub to you, but I am now standing on my driveway. Let me turn this way. And I apologize if I go in the shade and then into the sun. It's just with there's no clouds today. It's really sunny. It's one of the rare days with not much wind, so I decided it was a good day to shoot a video. I'm gonna walk out to the road. I don't know if you've ever owned any acreage, but 13 acres is medium size by my city slicker standards. It's enough that you can ride a motorcycle on, or a one-wheel, or a bicycle, but not so big that you could run like a huge mining or ranching operation or anything like that. Okay, so now I'm on the road. My property goes 3 power poles down to the corner. That's oh, it flies. There's 1, 2, 3 power poles that way, and then it goes several hundred yards that way. And if I turn around here, I got a driveway that I'm not going to be using, and then it goes another 3 power poles, 2 power poles up that way. So quite a distance. And I will attempt to walk this way and give you a better sense of it. So it's all creosote, ocotillo, mesquite, cholla plants, typical desert scrub. Oh, and I should say, one of the reasons I bought it is this view. That's east, mountains. It's a nice mountain range, and that's only like a half a mile away, a quarter mile away, walkable. And then Bisbee is that direction. You can't see it though. It's a little too distant, about 5 miles away. That big mountain right there is Mexico. You can see the border fence, that brown line running all the way across out there. That is the border wall. And then those mountains, that's Sierra Vista, Arizona, and Palominas. And then, I don't know if you can see that white dot up there. That's a Border Patrol blimp. Looks like a giant white goldfish cracker. And then there's my property, which is a house and a future workshop. So I'm just going to talk and walk, flip my viewfinder around, and share that I wasn't planning on buying a property, but like I said, I fell in love with it. I don't have many requirements. As you probably know, I live in a tiny house on wheels. And that was done primarily to get back on a strong financial footing after having to declare bankruptcy and go through a foreclosure years ago. And being self-employed, which was financially challenging. I built a tiny house in order to save money and get out of debt, and it's worked like a charm. I was able to pay off almost $60,000 in debt to the IRS from back taxes from being self-employed. If you're self-employed, set aside tax money and pay it quarterly. Don't fall into the trap. All right, here's my real driveway, the back side of it. The storage container is going to be my workshop. Then there's the house with, let me get out of the way, 5,000 gallons of rain catchment cisterns. Anyway, so I was able to save up money for down payment. And I don't mind sharing with you, let me get back on frame here. I don't mind sharing with you that I paid $129,000 for this property. I put down $20,000 in cash, and the sellers are carrying a note for the remaining 109. And I'm going to pay it slowly, do like the minimum payments for about a year and a half until my son is older and I don't have a big whopping child support payment every month. And then I can start paying down the mortgage quickly. My goal is to have this whole place paid off in about 4 years, maybe 5 years at most. All right, so going off camera again. This is just a 40-foot by 8-foot steel building. And as you can see, it's not a shipping container. If you look at the thickness of those steel beams there, they're almost a foot high. They are a foot high, 12 inches. That is significantly, at least twice as stout as your typical storage container, like a shipping container. This is actually a steel frame for just a modular building. So that is the start of my woodworking shop. I have to frame in that back wall, which has a view towards the west. And all of the cinder blocks that you see out here are sort of just a rough outline of what the footing is going to be, because this is going to become a 2-car garage attached to it. So I'm basically going to come up from this corner here, pretty tall, and I'm going to have a nice sloped roof that comes all the way down, a shed style roof, just like I have on the house. But it's going to be sloped this way, so the rain will, where's my finger? The rain will come this way and I'll have more cisterns on the back side of it here. Okay. And this clearing right here, I don't know if you can see it. Let me come up on a little berm here. This is where I'm going to put my tiny house. It's going to go right in this area. I'm going to leave the bushes. It's going to come out right here, and the front door is going to face that amazing view to the west. Those mountains might look far away because I'm on a wide angle lens, but they're not far away. It's maybe 5 miles, and that's a huge mountain. It's a really nice view. The sunset's right over that mountain. So that's where the tiny house is going, and its roof will slope down towards the container. So I'll have about an 8 to 10 foot gap between the tiny house. So I'll have one roof sloping down this way and a big roof sloping down this way. And then in the center, I can put water catchment and maybe have another 3,000 to 5,000 gallons of water catchment. And my goal here, let me turn it around. My goal here is to do a whole lot of earthworks to capture the rain. We get monsoons here in Arizona in the summer. I've lived in Phoenix for a couple years and I have experience with monsoons. When they come, they're fast and furious, and you want to be able to capture as much of that water as possible. So my 2 large roofs that I have to catch rainwater is a good start, but I've also got to do a lot of earthworks up in this area to capture the water and to get it to soak into the ground instead of just running off. I don't know if you can see, but I have a really good slope on this land. Sorry about that, trying to keep you guys from getting dizzy. The high point of the land is the north end up here. In fact, my property line, by the way, goes not quite to those trees. It goes just beyond that power pole right there, or right there. About halfway to the next, between those 2 power poles, and then comes across here. So the slope of this whole thing is down. It drops about a foot every 40 feet or so. So a nice gentle 3% grade, maybe 4% grade, all the way down to there. So when the rain comes, the water is it just sheets off and runs that way. Same thing over on this right side here, just runs that way. and basically goes, you know, to the highway, which is about 2 miles in the distance there, 1.5 to 2 miles in the distance. So I've got to do some earthworks. To build basins and berms and plant trees and basically capture the water so it doesn't just sheet off, it actually goes in the soil. So although the place looks like a whole lot of scrub right now, it is going to green up significantly, and that is a big portion of the work. So let me stop the video there and restart it, and then I'll share with you my plan. So I have a whole lot of earthworks to do, and my general approach is I'm going to bring the tiny house from Dallas. I'm going to pay a tow truck company to bring it. I'm going to put it right there. It's got a deck on the front of it right now. I've actually got to disassemble the deck, haul it here, and reassemble the deck. But the tiny house is going to go in there first, and I'm going to pour a gravel pad right there and level that out and do a little bit of clearing of some of this brush. I've also got to push back this berm right here a little bit. That's got to go back, and I've got to cut a driveway over here, a short little section, because I don't know if you can see it, but I have a circular driveway that goes around the house. And I'm going to have on the garage, the 2-car garage, I'm going to have 2 roll-up doors, 2 garage doors, so I can park my cargo trailer inside so I don't have to look at that all the time, and park my truck inside. And let me show you what that looks like from the driveway here. Okay. So basically, this will be 2 garage doors, and I'll be able to come from this driveway that I'm on right now and drive right up into the garage. But in order to get out of it, remember this is going to be, it's going to come out about 25 to 26 feet, come up like this, and then have this sloped roof again, right? But on the back side, I've got to have a way to get out. So I'm just going to put 2 more garage doors on this back side. And then right here in this corner, I will just cut a little 20-foot driveway right there that hits the road so I can just drive all the way on out. So I actually have like 3 driveways on the property. So it's a little bit messy and chaotic, but I figured I'd rather share a video, show you what's going on with the mess and the chaos than not have a video at all. So nice sloped roof here with water catchment. You can see I've got a gutter up here, comes down, goes into this tank. They are connected down here, and because they're connected low, the water fills up equally. And right now my water level, this says 1,500 gallons. If I bang on it, you can kind of hear that's solid. Up there, it's a little more resonant where it's empty. So my water line is right there, somewhere about 1,600, but double that since there's 2 tanks. So I have basically 3,000, 3,200 gallons, oops, let me turn, of water right now. And there's overflow on the backside, but I have to rig up something for that. I also have to connect the water to the house. So I'm going to have a pump, but basically the water is going to come out of the valves right here. Hopefully you can see that. And go into the backside of the house over here. And what else? There's a lot of debris. The one thing about this property is it's been neglected for almost 100 years. People have been dumping car parts, cars, appliances, and everything else that you could possibly imagine. That's conduit I just dragged out from about 50 yards that way. There's a whole lot of old abandoned structures of like hog pens and rabbit hutches and things like that. And over here where my truck is, this is my second scrap metal pile. I actually pulled off enough scrap metal to fill my truck bed probably 3 or 4 times, but fortunately I had a neighbor who's a scrapper who came with a huge trailer and took it all off my hands. But just in working the last few days, I've found this much more and gotten these 2 ancient, one's a refrigerator and one is a freezer. I've got those loaded in my truck and ready to go to the dump. But I've got smaller piles of crap everywhere, old You can see this is PVC piping, rubber, tires, you name it, just all kinds of miscellaneous crap. And then in this area, they had kind of bulldozed and just pushed dirt, I guess, when they were grading the driveway. See, there's my driveway there. It kind of comes in here, goes around behind the house, and exits over there. But we've got this other section in here that was, I don't know what they did, but you can see I've got big piles of brush and debris all over the place, and it's unlevel, and I want to return this all to its pristine condition. It's just rocks and debris and brush, and it goes back here quite a ways. And so I've got my work cut out for me. There's a purple prickly pear in a rabbit hole. I want to preserve that one. But out here there's some fencing that's got to come down. That's a low priority. But all the way to there is my property line, way in the distance. So this is quite a bit, and I want to turn this all into like a trail network. So that'll be pretty cool. But first things first is I have to clean up the property. I've got to get my tiny house here. Right now I'm living in Margot, my cargo trailer right there. It's got everything I need. It's got a kitchen, it's got a bathroom, camping toilet, it's got a shower, it's got solar panels on the roof, it's got Wi-Fi so I can work remotely, but it's small, so it'll be nice to get the tiny house here. So that's my next goal. And by the way, in a minute I'll take you inside the house and kind of give you a tour. But the goal is to get the tiny house here in the next 3 or 4 months, so my living situation is a little more comfortable. And then I'm going to work on the garage and get that built out first, which might seem backwards to some people. But if I have the tiny house here and I've got a comfortable living situation, then I don't need the house itself to be done right away. I can live in my tiny house, work on the garage, which I need for just security of tools and building materials in my vehicles, because we do get some undocumented aliens that come across the border fence there and occasionally come across the land. Not too common, but Border Patrol is very active in this area, and I do need to have the property to be secure. By the way, this is my favorite area of the property right here. It's just this little section of land between the house and the road. It's got some ocotillos. This is definitely going to get the runoff from the overflow from the tanks, and some earthworks done in here to really green this up and turn this into a super nice area. And then selectively I'll do some earthworks down here on the lower 40, as I call it. And this whole area, by the way, has a brand new septic tank. Can't forget that. So one of the reasons I bought this property is because the previous owners, there's a septic tank right in here, brand new, 1,000 gallons, with one drain line that goes out here. So that's why this is all graded and has no vegetation on it. You can see the top of the clean out, or of the vent stack, I guess you can, right there, if you can see that, and right there, and then another pipe right there, those 3 white things. So that's the septic system, but eventually this will all grow back in. The vegetation will take over and grow back in. So that is the basic tour. There's the view of the house there with these accordion doors that open up onto this spectacular view that I'll show you in a minute. So if it weren't for those doors and the great view of the mountains, I probably would not have bought this property. And by the way, the house is just 2 more of those steel containers. You can see it from this side. Let me take you over here. You can see the steel beams. So these are 40 by 8 containers. They just took 2 of them and dropped them about 12 feet apart, removed the interior walls, and then built a lofted ceiling over it, or roof over it. And then in the gap, they walled in the back, and then they did these amazing glass doors on the front. And so the house itself is basically 28 feet wide by 40 feet long. Then they did these great windows, and this is facing south. All this glass is facing south. So I'm gonna have to put an awning or something up to help keep some of the sun out in the summer. But in the winter, it's great because it gets cold here. I'm up at 4,500 feet. Bisbee in general, if you research it, it's up. you know, it's got some elevation, so it stays about 15 degrees cooler than Phoenix or Tucson, and it gets more snow and more rain in general. And it can get cold here. I mean, there's 4 or 5 months of the year where it gets down close to freezing at night. So you want lots of good southern exposure, which this thing has. So they thought that out pretty well. And they oriented the house to have this amazing mountain view. So I guess the bottom line is they did just enough to make me feel like I could keep going with this project and bring it to completion and maybe have, you know, all said and done, I suppose I'll have close to $200,000 into this whole project between the $130,000 I paid and then another $70,000 for building out a garage and building out the interior of the house. But to me, that seems reasonable to have a nice house. I'll have a solar array in between the water catchment. I will be somewhat autonomous and have, you know, energy independence for the most part once I get the solar array. So to have a nice house, a nice workshop, and 13 acres of land with a smoking view for a grand total of around $200,000, to me, that's a deal. Coming from, you know, California and now Dallas, and having lived in Hawaii and Idaho and kind of all over the country, you know, your typical house nowadays is $400,000. But I'm a single guy. I don't want a massive house. I want something more like this, where the focus is on a workshop, because I like to do woodworking. Oh, I should mention, maybe I did already. Turn around here. This area that's going to be enclosed in to become the garage is really just the garage. And I'm going to leave it open to the opening there, and maybe there'll be one step going up in, but this is going to be open for the most part into a woodworking shop. So I'll have all my power tools, you know, up in here. And again, a massive roof, 2 big doors on the front, garage doors on the back. So that's the plan. So that's my focus, though, is to have a really nice workshop, because eventually I'm going to retire and I'm just going to want to do like woodworking and maybe learn welding and do stuff like that. I don't need a massive house, especially since my current house, the tiny house on wheels, is only 120, 130 square feet. Coming into over 1,000, there's almost 1,100 square feet in this structure. That to me is huge. That's gigantic. So I don't need a 2,000-3,000 square foot house as just a single guy who's about to retire. That would be ridiculous. I would much rather have views and land and the ability to shape the land. Oh, since we're here, let me point out one other future feature. This cinder block row is where I want to have an adobe wall. And maybe I'll do a walkthrough, and it'll go actually around behind the tanks to block the tanks mostly from view. So let me step you through that right now. So coming off this corner of the house, I'll bring it out a few feet. I think this will be adobe wall, about 6 feet high. About 6 feet high, and then it's going to follow this cinder block line. And the reason I want to do that is, well, a few reasons. One is I love the Southwestern style. I'll probably embed some metal panels like this into the wall itself, so it's kind of adobe industrial style, which I've never seen anyone do that before. It might be kind of a cool contrast between industrial and, you know, sort of ancient building technology. And then that way, in this whole area here, I can have this be inner patio. And we get a lot of wind and a lot of sun here, so you want sun break and wind break. So I'm going to put down like flagstone and, you know, plant this. I'll probably put some trellises growing up in front of the water tank so you don't see that. I'll try to get some kind of vine situation going in there. But this inner area here will all be enclosed patio, so I can have a dog run around in here without escaping. It'll keep the wild animals out. And then in here, I've got my motorcycle just sitting right here. But this will all be sitting area with plants and succulents and, you know, shaded for the most part. And I'm going to put a hot tub. I don't know if you can see. I can't see my screen right now. Maybe I'll come this way. There's going to be a hot tub sitting right here. Let me come over like this and turn around. Can you see that any better? I can't tell if you can. But the adobe wall will probably come off of this corner and come out to about the midline of this trailer. So it'll go that way. And out here it'll be kind of low, so I have a view from the hot tub. but then it will kind of go up to about a 5 or 6 foot height as it goes along that cinder block line. And since I have a side door right here, I will make, that'll be an entrance. So wherever I have a door, like the side door and a back door, there'll be a gate. So if I'm in the house and I'm looking out at the property, there would be a gate right here, and there will be a gate. Let me show you where the back door is again. I apologize for the bad lighting. It's just difficult in the Arizona sun to go from sun to shade to sun to shade. Since I have a back door, there'll be a gate, also a wooden gate right in here somewhere. And it will have kind of an organic line, you know, it'll be kind of flowy, the top edge of it, kind of descending, maybe stair stepping a little bit. And I'm not sure what color it will be, but I'm going to repaint the house so to match the wall, the fence, the adobe fence. So that's the exterior. You're kind of getting a feel for the property. It's rocky, it's hot, it's scrubby, but it's got amazing views. It's got plenty of water. It will have plenty of solar power, everything that a guy could want. So my next step is to pour a gravel pad for the tiny house, and I've already hired a guy to come survey the entire property. He's a draftsman, architect, contractor type. He's going to draw up plans for me of the design of this, so I can then go to either a steel building manufacturer or like a post and frame building expert and buy what I need. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do the building myself or have a contractor do it. I'd like to tackle it myself, but not sure about that. We'll see. And get going on the garage. But first I have to get building permits from Cochise County. In another video, I'll talk about how Cochise County, where I'm at, has an opt-out building permit process that basically allows you to build almost whatever you want with no inspections whatsoever. The downside of doing that is you probably are not going to get insurance on your property, and you probably are not going to get traditional financing on it. So your buyer, if down the line you ever resell an opt-out property done this way, your buyer may need to be a cash buyer because they may not be able to get a traditional mortgage. But since I plan on retiring to this property and kind of living the rest of my life here, I don't really care about that so much, and I will self-insure. If I can't get homeowners insurance, I'll just make sure I've got, you know, a fire hose and water, you know, to defend it in case of a fire. I'll have defensible space out here. I'm going to widen this a little bit, push the driveway back a little bit, so I have more defensible space, and just do this opt-out process. But I'll do a whole nother video just on that opt-out process and the pros and cons of my experience with it once I actually get the permits in a couple of weeks. And I've got Arizona power. I've got no power here yet, but as you can see, I've got this pole right here. Hopefully you can see that. I'm going to drop power right there and then trench out over here to the house, and then trench it, you know, coming into the garage. So I should have plenty of power initially from the grid, and then eventually after everything's done, one of the last things I'll build out is a huge solar array and connect it in so that I can basically be self-sufficient power-wise and water-wise. I guess that's it for now. I've been talking for a good long time. So let's pause the video here. I'll take you inside the structure and you can get a sense of what it looks like from the inside. Okay, now we're inside the shell of my new house. Again, I apologize for lighting issues. It's a real challenge to go from super bright to very dark in the shadow, but I'll do what I can. And I'm going to go off camera here and just point out that this is one container. This is the second container, 40 feet long, separated by this big open area for now. There are some floor joists up there where the plywood is for a platform. And also right here, there's obviously floor joists, but the floor joists need to be continued. So this will all be one continuous floor. You can see the base of the cabinet there. So there's obviously no interior insulation. There's no wiring. There's no plumbing. It's just metal walls, the floor, what you can see of the floor, windows and doors, a side door, a back door, and then this vaulted, let me lift you up here. You can see that this is like a vaulted ceiling area up here that tapers as it goes towards the rear there. So I will probably enclose this, like wall that off so it's more like attic space. And then in here, this zone, I will leave that open because it's obviously bringing in a lot of light from those windows up there. My kitchen will probably be dead center here. This will just be open living space back in here. Kitchen in here, just two big islands, no upper cabinets, nothing to block the view. And then this will be my living room right in here. And in this corner probably I will have a desk. I just set up the sawhorses in that yesterday. I might try to use this as a desk to work this afternoon from home since I can reach my Wi-Fi receiver from in here. So that's my desk. And then the best thing about this whole property is this view. Isn't that amazing? I think that's amazing, of the mountain here. And of course the door's open, so I can, let's open the door. Door opens, and then this door also opens like that. And then I just grab this handle here, unlock it, and these all, if I didn't have so much crap in the way, these all theoretically slide out of the way. This is all stuff from inside the bed of my truck, which is here because the truck is full of scrap metal, which I'm taking to the dump today. So hopefully I'll get the truck emptied, get all this crap out of here. There we go. There's the doors completely open to that amazing view. So I sit my chair here, I got my side table, I listen to the radio, I take notes, I plan, I stare at the house, I plan, basically plot my, my building plans, and just enjoy the view. And then that is the view towards Sierra Vista, and there's going to be a patio or a deck out here in this whole space. That'll all be covered up. This is the connection for my sewer, my septic tank. So I can connect house plumbing when I do it eventually to here, and it goes out again to the septic field that is out in this area. And this is a really amazing sunset. The sun sets right here over the mountains. Well, in the winter it sets over here, and then in the summer it's setting more over here now. So that's the view. And I'm going to put two massive windows in here. Basically two windows in the corners, but they're going to be big, and then probably one in the center here. But I'll have a massive window here so I get the mountains to the east. This is going to be my bedroom in this back corner. I'm not sure of the design yet, but where this plywood is and tools and everything, this is probably all going to be walled in and be a bedroom with a master bathroom under these windows with probably barn doors. Let me get in this corner. Now I'm in what would be the corner of the bedroom. As you can see, I've got the good view there. So right in here somewhere, I will probably have barn doors that open up like that. So I can leave my bedroom open and obviously enjoy a view of the doors, massive windows that will be over here. I've got a good view here when the cargo trailer isn't blocking the view. And then lots of light comes in from these windows up here. You can see that's just sort of attic space up here. And the ceiling of the bedroom is just going to be left this metal that is the frame of the storage container. I'll probably have a wood stove in here where the mountain bike is. This will all be framed in and floored. This obviously will all be floored. And like I said, kitchen right here in the center. So, sorry for the shaky camera work. So that's about it. You've got a tour of the house. You've got a tour of the property, sort of. You've got my rough reasons of why I bought this property, how much I paid for it, what my plans are for it. And so now I just have my work cut out for me. So I'm going to do my best to YouTube this entire journey. It's going to take me a few years, but every step of the way, I'm going to do my best to YouTube it But I work alone, and you know, doing the work is hard enough, plus my day job. Adding YouTube on top of it is somewhat of a burden. So if I have some gaps in my coverage, please forgive me. But it's hard to do hard labor and set up shots, you know, with the camera and everything simultaneously without a partner to help me with it. So I've got to make a dump run today. Basically, I'm going to be making dump runs all this week to get rid of wood, scrap metal, plastic, glass, tires. There's just so much crap on this land. It's been neglected for 100 years, roughly, like I said earlier. And so, you know, Rome wasn't built in a day, and cleaning up, you know, 13 acres of neglect doesn't happen quickly, but that is my goal, and my plan is to, you know, clean it up. At some point, I'll bring in a skid steer and start flattening out some of the areas and widening the driveway and doing some basic earthworks. But you know, one step at a time. So I hope you liked the video. Leave your comments. Let me know your thoughts, concerns, suggestions, anything you think of it would be like a cool design detail, since this is essentially a big blank slate. Let me know what you think about that and what you think I should do with the interior of this property, and leave your comment below. And as always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and come with me on the journey. So thanks so much. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.